Oh, that didn't click. Okay, that's fine. Welcome to Gaming Fixx. I'm Frank, and today we have a special guest, uh, Louis Spooner III. But for his streaming, I've been saying Dr. Steamfox. Is that right, or is there, or
Dr.
is it
Steamfox is the online presence. It's my YouTube channel, it's my Twitch stream, and a couple
right?
other
Is
things
that
here and
so?
there.
People are looking for you.
It would be dr.steamfox. The word steam and fox pushed together.
Oh, cool. So it's exactly what I put on the thing. Good, good.
Yep.
All right. So, and also when I was talking to people on uh, Hot Five, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But so what we do, and not like I didn't have any time to tell you this, but this morning, what we do is we do a segment called "How I Got My Game On," and basically each of us just talk about how we got our game on, and it's not a monologue. You know, feel free to ask any questions you want or anything like that during it, and both of us basically just talk about, it's how you got your game on, anything you did that was nerdy, anything you want to talk about, anything that struck you for the week, kind of thing. I'll start, get an idea of what I'm kind of talking about, I guess.
Sure.
All right. So I've once again been playing some Puzzles and Empire, and that's a game that's played on the phone. And my alliance is Make Something Else Up, and it's a puzzle game where you create heroes and you fight against different monsters and stuff. I like it because it's really multi-leveled. You get to go on quests, like there's world quests, and then there's also like quests to get wood and pieces to make your stuff better. There's a thing where you fight titans, which are like more powerful monsters, and you get these heroes bigger. So I've been trying to level my one hero, and we have a war that's going now that I'll probably be taking care of later today. We had a war sometime this week as well. We won that one, which was pretty cool.
Nice.
And yeah, I they had a Black Friday sale, which is the first time where they had two extra heroes and no traditional heroes. So like if you got a hero, you were guaranteed going to get a unique hero, and that even a hero from a seasonal event. So for instance, I got Frosty, and Frosty's really good. So I was pretty happy to get. Now I have two of them. Usually, I think people would spend the other one, but I see it as maybe an opportunity to put it on another team, so to have another group of fighters and whatnot. So yeah. Then after that, I played. Oh no, because it was Thanksgiving. That's right. So Thanksgiving. So there was no game on Thanksgiving. Usually I play Adventure League, but there was no Adventure League this week. Um, and then I ran Pathfinder because we do play after Thanksgiving. Usually, most I was a little bit surprised because there's some people that were talking about that, and they were like, "Oh, what about Thanksgiving? Like, what about it? You're talking about like Sunday." It's like I don't know. I just eat more turkey. Okay, I don't know what else you do for Thanksgiving. Other than that, after I don't know, I guess people sometimes they go out of town or whatever. But
I recorded 2 episodes for my Mass Effect Andromeda series.
oh,
That's what I
cool,
did.
nice, nice. So I watched or I ran Pathfinder, and man, I gotta say though, these party members, I should or players or whatever. So I don't. There's a lot of interruptions during our game, which I'm fine with. And that's going to happen.
That's
We
life.
have a player that's he's at his house, and he's got a son. His son's playing too, and he's playing pretty late because he lives in West Virginia, and we're starting at like 3:30, so he's starting about dinner time, something like that. So there's a lot of honeydews and stuff going at the same time, and the cat's got to be fed, and all these different levels of things that have to happen. But that's actually not like that. I'm starting to get to that, but the thing that's driving me crazy is, and I don't know if you've ever had this problem. I don't know if you, I don't know if you've ever run any D&D games or anything like that.
I played D&D a couple times.
You played, okay,
but a little bit, yeah. We ran like 2 campaigns ever. Yeah. The rest of the time, it's like a little complicated for me.
Yeah, but it's like it was like I would be like, okay, so here's the plot, and they'd be like, no, no, you need to go here, and they'd be like, no, because I had like, for instance, I'm like, all right, so they get out, and this is the party, and this is the rending of the veils party that they have. So basically, it's a Halloween party. Is what it's a so I'm like, okay, yeah, to the mainland, because, well, first, I'd already mentioned this, but basically, when I created a city, and they were going through a dungeon, they were going through the city, they were trying to figure out all these things, and they just got, for whatever reason, they decided, oh well, I think the city's too big, it's taking us too long to get here, we need to go somewhere else. Now that's a little bit daunting for me, because I wrote the city, I'm writing a dungeon, and then they're like, let's go somewhere else. And it's like, well, that was a lot of time that I put into that for apparently no reason. Maybe you'll get back to this, and maybe you won't. It's like, I don't know if they'll ever come back to this. So that happened, and then I'm like, all right, like we want to leave, we want to the mainland and see if we can find a city that's more workable for us, or not city, but like a little town, and like little adventures. Right. It's weird too, because they're 7th level, so it's not like they don't really need small adventures, but they have some weird thoughts on themselves, and like everything that's come at them, they've done really well against. Like, there's been no resurrections in the party, like, for almost a year. Never had a problem like that. But for whatever reason in their head, they think, and then they hear rumors, and they're going off of the rumors too. Like, they're like, oh, this place is lousy with demons, because the townsfolk keeps telling us this place is lousy with demons. But they don't know. So anyway, they go, and they get to the island, and the island is a Halloween island, and they're like, oh, okay, well, this is a party, I guess we'll stay on the boat. Okay, cool, what do you guys want to do? And then, like, finally one of the guys is like, yeah, I want to go and check it out. I'm like, well, we don't want to just leave you behind. So they finally all decide that they're actually going to get off the boat and be in the adventure. But they're like at the party, and an example is like this halfling walks up to him, and I'm like, yeah, this halfling walks up to you and gives you information and stuff, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna avoid her, because just halfling doesn't mean I want another halfling to walk up to me. I mean, that's that's awfully presumptuous of her. I'm not right. And I'm like, okay, but it's like, so they're like, so I don't know. And it's like, they were all thinking about going and living in their cabin that they built. And I'm like, because it's like, oh, so are you going to be part of the when the undead come, are you going to be there to to see that, or the and they're like, oh, well, I don't know about that. And then when they finally get, told, yeah, when the zombies and skeletons come to life, and they're like, oh, well, we are clerics. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll finally fight. I'm like, oh, good. You've decided to be involved in the fight that I'm putting together for you. That's
Damn clerics. It doesn't
the
help
TV
me. I was
getting,
a cleric, but yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. It was interesting. So it looks like it'll actually be a good battle report probably next week. And let's see what else I watched. That was last week that I watched Ghostbusters Afterlife. Let's
I heard
see.
good things about that. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, it's really good. It's funny. I watched the last part of Star Trek Discovery and found out that it was funny because I was downloading it and it's like, wait, there's only 2 episodes. Oh, am I caught up? I guess I'm caught up.
Hey,
So
it
yeah,
works, right?
yeah. So I'm now and I'm watching that. That was pretty cool. Last night I saw a western, uh, The Harder They Fall, which kind of reminded me of Posse. In that it was a mostly all black cast, but this one was a little different because like where Posse is like all the black cowboys kind of going against the established state or whatever. It's all black cowboys with just their own unique story. Kind of reminded me of like a Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez style writing, but it wasn't. It was just a new person entirely, and it had as the main bad guy the guy everybody wants to play James Bond, but I can't think of his name right now.
Idris Elba.
Yeah, Idris Elba. Yeah, it had Idris
Idris
Elba
Elba would
as
make
the
a great James Bond.
yeah. I'd like to see. I know they've talked about at one time they're talking about doing a Holly Berry American Bond movie that they never ended up making. They were going to do the
Closest thing we got
American.
to that was like Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig. That's the closest we've gotten to that.
Yeah, but they were talking about doing an American Bond. It wasn't going to be like it wasn't going to be James Bond. It was going to be American story, which would be weird because it'd be like, okay, this is a James Bond American story, but at the same time, we do have a lot of American stories already, like
Yeah, and
Mission
like
Impossible.
our man Flint.
Yeah. So I don't know. That would be kind of different, but yeah. But it was really good. It was really good. It had a nice twist end and all that. It it reminded me of one of my favorite westerns. So really good storytelling. It was fun. Kind
Most
of
of the
some of the same.
westerns I watched were like Clint Eastwood movies.
Yeah, I've watched Clint Eastwood movies too. But like, I think my first western that I ever watched as a kid was Silverado on the big screen, and that had like all the, that was the first. It wasn't his first movie, but it was like I think his where a lot of people remember him starting out was Jeff Goldblum.
Mm.
Way before Jurassic Park when he played Slick.
Right.
Yeah,
I
and
remember Jeff Goldblum in Earth Girls Are Easy.
yeah, and Brian Dennehy played the sheriff. Trying to remember. I think some of the Bridges clan played various cowboys, and it was pretty good. It was a really good movie. I really enjoyed it. But the movie that I just watched that was really cool. And then of course I was on last night. I was on Radio Free Cybertron's uh, top 5. And what they do is they go through the different the different decades of Transformers and talk about all the different things that came out. And it turns out December, kind of a slow week. But you can still check it out if you're a patron. It's a patron-only podcast, so it's kind of weird being part of that, but it's been fun. And it's cool. As a thing, I was included in the Macy's Day Parade from Dawn of the Day, which is there's a guy that what he does is he's made a whole thing about Headmaster Don. Headmaster Don is one of the people that is on the show. He's very eccentric. Like he's got all these different, he's automatically funny, comedy fuel kind of a guy. And he's it's like very Southern. Always talks about like the only way to have deviled eggs is Miracle Whip. Drinks his coffee out of a bowl. Some things like that. Has a
nasty. Ew.
I agree. Miracle Whip tastes like somebody put some marshmallow fluff in some mayonnaise or something. I don't know.
It's always been like really bitter to me, not sweet. Ugh.
I always taste the sweet. I don't know. I can't stand it. Regardless, like I don't have to. It doesn't have to matter the flavor profile. I don't want it on my sandwich.
I think I've met like 2 people ever that liked Miracle Whip, and I don't know how they sell it. Ugh.
Well, you know what's weird is Jack in the Box has a weird mayonnaise profile for their sandwiches too, and like I've noticed they're not putting mayonnaise on their sandwiches anymore, which is a bad thing to me. But like it's always had a weird kind of flavor to it, and I don't know if that's what Kraft salad dressing tastes like or what, but it just doesn't taste like the mayonnaise that I'm used to. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So anyway, he does this thing called Dawn of the Day, and so by the way, the reason he's called Headmaster Don is because at the Transformer panels, he would always ask, "Hey, we're going to bring out a Headmaster RC like every year until finally they finally just recently released a Headmaster RC." And so, but he used to ask every time at BotCon. So that was like what his claim to fame. And he also has a cat named Massey. That's like this big cat that like he's always like, "Oh, you know, she's friendly." And it's funny. It's just relationship to Azrael. It's like Azrael's a good kitty. Azrael doesn't hurt anybody, and like as everybody's bleeding to death and running away.
Yeah,
because that's how Massey is, and there's like they've got Massey attacks and all this stuff. But anyway, so he does he does some art, and shout out to Sean Hamilton. He does some art, and he did a Macy's parade, and he gave me a float this year, which was kind of cool.
Nice. And
it's funny because I've been in Dawn of the Dead a lot lately. In fact, I do not have. So there should be an opening to this show, and I'm working on it. It's one of those things. Editing takes a little time for me now. Because as you know, like you have to cut everything.
Yeah.
I use all kinds of things. I use VideoPad even though I'm not supposed to, but
use DaVinci Resolve. It's really good. It's free. It's intuitive.
I have DaVinci. It's free.
Yeah.
It's not the software. It's the operator of the software and getting
Look up a couple tutorials on YouTube. Why not? There's plenty.
No, it's not that I don't know how to do it. It's time. It's been production. It just hasn't been done yet. It's on its way. But anyway, in that you'll see some of those pictures. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you know how it is when you have to self-motivate sometimes.
Yeah, I've had an issue with that this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what it ends up being. So it's not finished yet, but it'll probably be finished next week. I'll probably do it after the show sometime today. if I don't find something else that needs to be done that I didn't think, but that happens. But anyway, yeah, so he does some great art, and I've been part of that, so kind of cool. So anyway, that is how how I got my game on. How did you get your game on, Louis?
From the beginning or just this week?
Just this week.
This week, well, I don't remember if it was actually the night on Thanksgiving or the wee hours of the morning after. But I recorded and edited 2 episodes for my upcoming Mass Effect Andromeda series after 4 failed attempts. My computer crashed once. The game crashed once. My captures weren't recording properly through OBS.
Mm-hmm.
But I fixed the resolution. I've got 2 episodes edited and finished, and I recorded 2 more after that, but I haven't edited them yet. And I need
what are you using to capture?
I'm using OBS.
No, but like the card. What's your card?
I don't know. I'm playing on PC and I'm using OBS to capture my monitor.
Oh, you don't. So you're not using like a Gato or anything like that, like a
No.
streaming card.
I will eventually, but I can't afford it right now.
Yeah.
I would go with an Elgato.
Yeah. So one thing I got, believe it or not, I did this for giggles. I had like $12 in my pocket. I was burning, whatever, and I was gonna do the retro gaming. So I'm like, well, I mean, if it works, it'll definitely handle my Nintendo Classic. So I ordered a streaming card from Wish.
Okay.
For $11. It's like this big.
I hope it works.
It streams the Nintendo.
Nice.
I would not throw it on a console. I would not try and get it to do anything else because it's really small. And I'm surprised that it does sound, and I'm surprised that it does what it does for its price, but it runs and works. And yeah, I got it on Wish. I was like, I'm like, sure, I'll try to use a streaming card for $11. Let's see what happens with this.
I like the Elgato because it has HDMI, and if I were to play on console, I would play some of the newer stuff. If I play something older, like I have a couple Pokemon series up on my YouTube channel. Like I have Pokemon Red and Pokemon Gold. I did an emulator, and it was just easier that way. Yeah. If I could find a different way to capture it, I would. But the only way I could do it right now is emulator.
So when I was doing Extra Life, I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I was having some serious problems with I guess it was a capture card problem because basically I was trying to play Mario Brothers, and I haven't played Mario Brothers in years. With Mario Brothers 3 for Extra Life, and the signal was just so off. I was like, for 30 minutes, it was just like nothing but me dying pretty much because I'd be like, I'd run and then it's like I could get nothing going that was kind of a weird thing to do. So yeah, an emulator might have been a better idea, but
all else fails, emulate.
Yeah, no, I might do an emulator. I do steer, make sure that things are paid for as much as possible and not people aren't upset and stuff, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know how that would work. I know I run Final Fantasy fine, like it's not a problem. I bought new controllers for my NES because the original the pad was off. So like you'd like try and get into a village and it would just miss, or like the NPC be blocking me and I couldn't get in quick enough, and that was horrible. So I bought the wireless ones.
You're still in California,
Anyway,
right?
go ahead. Yeah.
So there's this store in Hollywood called Game Dude,
Mm-hmm.
and I would suggest going there because they have all kinds of stuff, and they will refurbish some of the older hardware, and they're really good
Mm-hmm.
at it. We got an NES from them. It was years ago now, but when we got the NES, they said they cleaned it up, and
Yeah.
it ran. They said it runs like brand spanking new, and my dad was a little skeptical about it, and he's like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, yeah." It does not suffer from resetitis.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do anything. Just put the cartridge in, close it, turn it on. Boom, it works every single time on every game that we put in it. No problems. It's like a brand
So
spanking new
I don't
Nintendo.
NES. I have an NES Classic. So basically, what I have is a Raspberry Pi that is emulating games, but
Right,
Nintendo put the seal of approval on it. Basically,
right. I know
it's
about that one.
yeah, it's a classic. It's So anyway, go ahead. I,
Last night I watched 8-Bit Christmas, which is on HBO Max right now.
I refuse to watch any Christmas.
I have to. My wife is very very Christmassy, just as much as we are Halloween. Since we're both professional haunt
Yeah,
actors,
yeah,
she's just as much into Christmas as she's into Halloween.
yeah. The only I love Christmas. I just don't do Christmas until after my birthday. So my birthday's over, I go into full Christmas mode. It's funny because people think I'm a Scrooge because of it. Because I'll be like, "Oh, Christmas," and they're like, "What?" And then like as soon as my birthday, like midnight after my birthday, I'll be like, "Okay, well, let's get this tree going and stuff." So it's like I just don't do. I like to keep it nice and delineated. That's all.
I I try to focus on Christmas when it gets closer to Christmas,
Yeah.
and it's a little bit easier for me to manage that way. But
Mm,
with my family being as hardcore for Christmas as they are, it's a little bit harder for me.
yeah.
Uh, I got to live with it. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. She's giving me my seal of approval.
Okay.
um, Other than that, I haven't really done a whole lot. I've done a handful of research on YouTube to see if I could improve some of my videos or my streams.
That's always good.
I've done a handful of other research on how to better present my resume and cover letter so I can get a job. And I've actually
That's good.
lined up almost a dozen interviews this week alone. And
That's
I've
good.
already, like, one of them scheduled for tomorrow and another one the next day. And I had two yesterday.
All right. Cool. What the hell?
Just trying to get my foot in the door has been a little troubling. My interview tomorrow is actually for FedEx Freight, and it actually pays really well. The only downside is it's incredibly part time, which
Yeah.
I don't like it, but it's 16 something an hour, so might as well take
Oh
it.
yeah. Sure. Is that for Christmas or that's just
It's a permanent position. It's not temporary. They just said it's incredibly part time because of they what the guy told me over the phone was that the reason why it's incredibly part time is because COVID really constrained a lot of their hiring implements and stuff, and they've been like because they have to go from state to state to state and whatnot, that they can't have certain members of staff on at this particular time or this particular time if they're taking in trucks from like one group will do trucks from this city, another group will do trucks from that city. That way they have the same people doing the same routes. That way it's a lower risk of exposure and stuff. At least that's what they told me.
all right? Well, that sounds good. Well, hopefully,
I hope I get something, and I need to work because
yeah, yeah.
I love content creating and everything, and I'm trying to figure out how to. It's going to be a while, but eventually I'll have my camera on a mount that I'll put somewhere, and I'll start painting and stuff. And my daughter did this one,
Nice.
and I'll be painting either on stream or I'll just record it and time lapse it or something.
All right. Well, um, so that's how we got our game on. Want to tell everybody remind everybody that you've got Christmas shopping. If you're looking for Christmas shopping, you pick up one of these fine shirts right here. It says Game and Fixx and all that jazz. And this is our original logo. You can find that on TeePublic. And I've actually got it all spiffy where I can show where you can go and get that. And everything is $13. The t-shirts are $13, and everything else is right now 35% off for Christmas. So definitely check that out. And any of those sales go directly back to Gaming Fixx, and we appreciate that. And thanks for checking that out. Also,
yes. Please buy plenty of the shirts. He needs a new webcam.
There's that. I need all kinds of things. Actually, that's one thing we just invested, and this is this is all the things we do. You know, Gaming Fixx. We do black and white now in color, which is our comedy sketch series, which we're about to do some more shooting probably next week.
I could tell some really bad jokes for that if you want me to. I got them all written down.
We'll talk. Also, we've got we're going to be doing some more 1, 2, 3, but instead of just results shows, hopefully on the 13th, I'll be going to a local show in Stanton, and we'll get some shots and stuff, which would be pretty cool. But one component of that is that we needed to upgrade our camera, and so I've just ourselves a new Canon, and so that's part of this. Like, if we don't get donation, if your support helps us. If not, then it's it's what I can do at any time. So I mean, if you want better quality content, then that's one way to get that, is to help me out with by doing things like going to TeePublic. Also, if you are in Hornbrook, California, and you are going to be going on the Klamath River, or I forget the other river that's down in that area, and Hornbrook is near Eureka, California. It's very, very up north of California. There is a place to get some. That is Eureka. Eureka. The reason that it's so weird is because it is the city I'm talking about is Yreka, not Eureka, which is.
Why does California have all these weird names? It's like
I don't know.
Down in SoCal near the 15, there's Zyzix.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, Zyzix is. I was like, whoa, that's a lot of X's and Y's for no reason.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, that's when I learned what Zyzix was. It was on a WB thing.
Yeah. But you can get yourself a sandwich. They have for, I think it's $11.95. You can get yourself a well, that was yesterday, but for about $12, you can get yourself a pulled pork sandwich, tri-tip, and a cup of soup, and they have canned soda there. But you can also get yourself some bait and a floaty if you're in that area, and tell them that Cousin Frank sent you. And other than that, so today, I guess one thing I'm going to ask you, Louis, because I know I know what you're into, because I know about those, but I don't know, like, if I start talking about some things, I don't really, I'm not comfortable with that or whatever. Like, what do you know about Magic the Gathering? Have you?
I used to play it.
Oh, you did used to play it. Okay.
Yeah, I played Magic.
Okay. So we could definitely talk about that. But also, I definitely want to talk about haunting and some of those experiences. I think that'd be kind of fun, and just different, things. But one of the other things what was one of the things I was thinking of.
What a wonderful
Oh,
thought.
so what are your yeah, exactly. So what are your thoughts on I guess one thing that we talk about a lot of the show is gatekeeping, and we're against it generally, or actually
Right.
completely. Uh, People should be able to do what they like, and
I agree with that.
so one way of gatekeeping is the idea of get good. What are your thoughts? Good.
The only thought I have on get good is practice doesn't always make perfect, but practice does make improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some people that are naturally good at certain things, and there are people that practice to make it where they are. We could use some of our friends as examples. There's
Mm-hmm.
people like uh, Mark Carrico, for example. He's the recent TSL world champion. He had a
Mm-hmm.
natural talent, but sometimes he would fall short here or there, and he got better over time. And he is a very big practitioner of practice makes improvement. Now he's at the top of the Saber community.
Mm-hmm.
Then other people I can think of is like when I was haunting here in Lubbock, Texas. We brought on this kid who had like zero experience. He was afraid of zombies and spiders, and we threw him in a room at our old haunt, and he went from like a really crappy actor to one of the best actors we had, and he did that in the span of 2 weeks just by practicing daily, even on our days
Mm-hmm.
off. I would give him tips and pointers, and like find the energy inside of you and just bring that out to the surface. And he became one of the best actors we had in our history. Same thing can happen in sword play and sabers, and even in gaming. The get good thing happened because of Dark Souls. And a lot of people were like, Dark Souls is a really hard game.
Yeah.
It's a challenging game because of all the different things that you have to keep in mind. But I've seen people speed run that game in less than an hour. Like
Mm-hmm.
they practiced. Even speedrunners that are like I follow Simple Flips, for example. He's one of the best speedrunners for Super Mario 64, and he does all of these ROM hacks. And most of the time that he's playing these games, a lot of people that don't know who he is would come in seeing him struggle playing a game, and they're like, "This guy sucks." No, he doesn't. He's actually really good. Thing is, this is a new concept, and it's alien to him, so he has to practice it in order to make improvement.
So one thing that I guess like I've that happens a lot, especially in games and tabletop, is people that want to learn a game, and so they come in and they want to play a game, so they start playing a game, and uh, basically it's like, okay, cool, you want to play, cool, you got your stuff, cool, and they play, and then like someone who's been in the in the gaming community for a while just beats them outright, and then it's like, all right, well, get better. I don't know that that's necessarily a good way to foster, getting more people. You know what I mean? Like I have a friend who played Magic the Gathering with another friend, oddly enough, or well, with his friend, and his friend beat him, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm never playing. I'm not going to play Magic again until you know, like some until you play this other game, you because I don't like I didn't enjoy that. I don't like just you know being told just enough and then getting beaten and then being told, okay, well, figure it out. You know
Right.
what I mean?
I know that feeling really well.
And I think as gamers we have to be better than that.
Yeah.
You
Well, I know some folks that played things like Smash Brothers, and
Mhm.
they I I played with them, and I'm a like veteran Smash player. I played it from the very beginning, so I knew all the tech and how to play the game well, and I beat these kids, and they were like, "Oh, I don't want to play anymore. Let me teach you how I did that," and I'd show them, and I never won again. So, if you hand out all your tricks, you'll see who really comes out on top.
Right, right. And I think that that's just like, I don't know, like I've never, even on the show, like, we like to tell people, how you can find out stuff.
Right.
And one thing that you have to be careful with also is like jargon, and like telling people, hey, this is what we're trying to say, whatever, because it's pretty easy to be like, oh, da, 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 da. It's like, well, what are you talking about? It's like,
right.
And
Like
just being inclusive.
Right. There was a big tech in Mario 64, and when I would watch Games Done Quick, they would say all this jargon, and I'm like, what does that even mean? And when I was in swordplay, it was kind of the same thing. When I was in the SCA, the people who trained me said, stand like this, hold your shield like this, hold your sword like this. They said, stand here, move this way, make sure you do this, do this, do this. They didn't say shield how, ox, boar, or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then when I got into HEMA, that's all they would say. They would say, do the shield how, do this boar stance, do this ox, do this, do that. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then they'd be like, are you sure you know what you're doing? And I was like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. And then they said, okay, you're going to spar with this guy over here. And the guy got in, we had messers, and I whooped his ass. And he's like, you have no experience. You don't know what we're talking about, and you beat me? How is that possible? And I said, I was taught, stand like this, hold your sword like this, move like this.
Yeah.
And they were like, they didn't teach you any of the words. And I said, no one taught me any of the words. They just taught me how to move. And that's how if I teach somebody how to play a game, it's like, do it like this. I don't say, this is what this is called, this is what that's called, this is what that's called. And they're like, do this, do this, this. No, it's move this way, make this movement, push this button at this time, blah, blah, blah. I don't say stuff like this frame, this BLJ, this wall clip, or anything like that. It's like, no, it's just easier to know what you're doing if you simplify it. And I was told to simplify it. Like the entire time I was in high school is like, stop rationalizing, simplify everything you're saying. Your vocabulary is too high, blah, blah, blah. I had a college grade reading level since I was 6. So it was harder for me over time. But after I learned how to do that, that's how I taught other people.
Right. No, I totally understand that. Like I know that when I was taught how to fight for saber fighting, I was, it was like a completely foreign thing to me. My friends wanted to go and they wanted to fight with lightsabers, and I was like, okay, sure, fine, I'll do that. I'm around the house. I'll help. I'll do that. And then it was like, all right, and then Jeff showed me how to fight, and I was like really surprised that I wasn't bad. Like I would, hold my own after he showed me some things, and he never used any kind of jargon or anything like that. He's just like, yeah, just you want this stance, your stomach's like this, you're gonna want to hold it like that, you move like this. It's like a pendulum. And those parts of my training just, it worked.
Right, yeah.
And then I sparred with some of the best people in the country. I was really lucky that way. That has helped me out too. But it's like, but no, it's or like even when I'll teach people magic and stuff and Magic the Gathering, I won't tell people, about the stack because the stack is complicated. I'll be like, all right, so this can go this speed, this, you explain the stack without explaining the stack, which is kind of hard, but it's something you need, that you need to do to play Magic. To be like, oh yeah, this is when you want to play. Make sure and make sure and be aware of when your turn phases are going, because someone will try and win by telling you that you're off on your turn phase. You can lose that way. Be careful of that, because it's something I have a problem with. Because like there's been times, and I've been lucky that I've been in good games where I've forgot to untap my mana at the wrong time and tried to and do an attack. And if you're playing with someone who plays straight tournament, they're going to be like, hey, yeah, you don't get to untap that mana because you never did. You just decided to keep it tapped, so you just lose your turn.
Right.
Because there's people that will do that, and they're happy to win that way. I mean, I would never take a win that way. I'd be like, that was really a cheesy way to win. It's like you forgot to untap. It's not a big thing, and I don't know. There's a lot of different ways to be inclusive. I've been lucky. All the time that I've come into a community, I've dealt with people that gave me things, helped me out, do things. Like I had an Aladdin and somebody traded me. I was like, oh yeah, I have this magic card at home. And they gave me an Aladdin for it. I think about it, I'm like, that Aladdin was kind of beat up for giving me a volcanic island, which is really weird because like now I'm kicking myself for all the cards I don't have anymore. But anyway,
like
I don't have that
Black
volcanic
Lotus.
island anymore. I never had a Black Lotus. I had a Mox.
My
I
friends
sold it for $40 to take a girl I was interested in to Renaissance Fair.
Fair trade, I think.
Yeah, except for that thing's like $600 now or something like that.
Oh, geez.
For Mox Jet. But yeah,
I got into playing card games with. Well, I played Pokemon a little bit, but it wasn't really my thing. I liked the Game Boy games, Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
I got into card games with Yu-Gi-Oh! And
okay.
I enjoyed that quite a bit, and then I got into Magic shortly after that. And the friends that I played with, like they taught me, and I was always curious about Magic. I had like when I was a kid, I had some Magic the Gathering cards, but I didn't really play. I just, these are cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And then like 2, maybe 3 years after I started playing Magic, my friend introduced me to these creatures called slivers, and I'm sure you know what slivers are.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't beat him anymore.
Yeah.
God,
he was like slivers have way too much synergy for like a casual game.
Slivers with the way the tournaments run in Magic, it's like, if it was released before this time, you can't use it and blah blah blah. It's like, and then a lot of people are like, yes, thank God we don't have to deal with slivers anymore. And then they released a whole bunch of new slivers.
Oh yeah,
and they were like, oh my God, no. Because my friend by turn
Sliver Queen, it's like, oh no, here's Sliver, whatever it was, Sliver Alpha or whatever. It's like, oh,
there's so many. There's so many. But my friend showed me like, okay, it was turn 7. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And on that turn, he just tapped all of his slivers. Just tapped them, didn't attack. Yeah. I tap all my slivers. I gain 745 life. You lose 745 life. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And there was just no way to stop it.
There's
more of them now, but slivers were just about the only thing that you could use to do it because they were low cost and they would all like this sliver gives all the slivers the same ability, and the worst ones were like gem hide sliver because you could tap any sliver for any color mana, and slivers were really cheap. Then there was muscular sliver, which gave every sliver +3/+3 for every sliver on the playing field and all this other crap. And I'm like, why the hell did they make this? Why are they so cheap?
That actually leads us to the next thing I was going to discuss, which is something that they've been talking about. I don't know. Have you heard of secret lairs?
I don't think I have. No.
All right. So secret lairs. So Magic the Gathering during the pandemic. I don't know if secret lairs were before the pandemic, or I think they were like kind of released during, and I don't know if they were connected to. But one thing that Magic has started to do is they've started to release like modern sets and some things like that, where they're releasing some of the high value cards in foils and special type things. And but that's not exactly what So what Secret Lairs are is their specialty cards, like maybe of between 5 and 10 cards that they have. That they have like they'll have Asian prints. They'll have some that are like monster movies. Like they'll take the monster posters, and it'll be like Signed in Blood or something, and it would be like a monster poster of Signed in Blood instead of the normal card. Just like different designs, and it's kind of cool. But what's happened is they're also like they're bringing in some cards that you could just get that like before you might have to go through a couple boxes to get. Like for instance, they just released all 5 of the Praetors in Secret Lairs. So like you pay like the $35 and you get all 5 Praetors. And like they're going to be releasing the fetch lands. Not all the fetch lands, but I think it's weird. It's like they're releasing the fetch lands so that you get like 2 fetches and some other kind of premium. But you can get fetch lands for like 2 fetch lands for $35, and right now like some of those fetch lands are going for a lot more money.
Right.
And so one issue that's been brought up is this unfair? Like, is it unfair to have access to these different things? And one of the other reasons it's unfair is because, like, they have a Stranger Things. They just put out a Stranger Things set, and the Stranger Things has different effects, and you can't get them anywhere else but by buying them from Secret Lairs, and they're legal, which has never happened. Like where basically you have a set that's not based in the Magic universe, but it all works. It's all legal stuff. So there's an issue of like, is that fair? Because someone can just buy this, or if I can't buy this, then I don't have access.
Right. I understand that. Have you heard of Unglued?
Yes.
Those really weird cards. They were pretty much comedy cards, but some of them were actually really good. One of my favorites from the Unglued series was the title of the card was "Our market research shows that players like to go for really long card names, so we made the longest card name ever, Elemental."
Yes.
And it's a 5. It's colorless, 5 mana, 10/10 with trample.
Yep.
And I was like, God, they just went balls to the wall, didn't they? And then when I got into Magic, it was Kamigawa, and it had a lot of Japanese imagery and stuff.
Yeah. But one of the, believe it or not, it's funny you should mention Unglued, because Unglued is doing something really new with this set. Bordered Unglued.
Neat.
So that you actually are going to have some Unglued that will actually be legal in the game this time.
Cool.
So, and I don't know if they're going to be bringing anything on the list, which is now a new thing, where there's a list of cards that they now put into some packs, so that you get some of the desired cards in the new expansion stuff.
Right.
It's not the reserve list. They don't do that, but they have now. They have 2 lists. They have the reserve list, which is the cards that they won't print because it would make people sad, like Lotus and Mox and
a bunch of slivers.
Sylvan Library, and actually, I don't think there's any slivers on that list. Slivers on the other list, they might be putting slivers out that way.
There's always a possibility. Always a possibility.
I think
I,
Sliver Queen is still against the rules in Commander. I'm not sure.
I know the Sliver Queen, because of its age, was one of the reasons why it was excluded from competitive play. However, during, I can't remember if it was Kamigawa or Ravnica, one of those two, they released another sliver called Sliver Legion. That sliver is
Mm.
actually worse. It's more powerful than the Sliver
Oh
Queen,
yeah.
because it's not only a legendary creature, but it has a stipulation that you can have more than one of them on the field, because it's not just one creature; it's a legion of creatures. The, the
Mm-hmm.
problem the problem with that one was it was a high mana cost. It cost
Mm-hmm.
one of every color plus one colorless, and not a lot of people like running that many mana. However, with a creature like Gemhide Sliver, it doesn't matter. You can just tap your slivers for whatever color mana you want, and
Yeah,
that's
what
how
you
my
do
friends were able to use it.
is you could run that. You run a primarily green deck with slivers in your as a commander. So you have like elves, and then you have slivers, and then you can play your legion as a commander, and I guess have another legion in your commander deck. Have
Yep.
one, so you can only have one more. Actually, I don't think you could, because you couldn't play the extra commander because you could only have one of any card, so you couldn't play two of those. So that would be limiting, but that's just in commander, which
Right.
you may know as EDH. I don't know. I don't know when you.
I haven't been able to keep
Yeah.
up with it. I just, like, I was watching YouTube the other day, and there was an ad that popped up for the new release for Magic the Gathering, and I thought it was a video game or something, because too it was a really well designed animation, and I was thinking, is this a new game or something? And then it was this couple being brought together. It looked like a wedding, and then these sorcerers kind of
Oh,
forced them
Crimson
together.
Vow. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that came out, and I saw the ad for that, and I was like, wait a minute, what? And then this vampire queen killed them, and then it showed Magic the Gathering Crimson Vow, and I was like, okay, that's what that is.
What's weird is what's actually coming out next month is Kamigawa, but it's Kamigawa Neon. So it's a Shadowrun tribute Kamigawa set.
I liked Kamigawa when it first came out. It was really
So
good.
it's going to be like, but it'll be like Shadowrun. It'll be like that cyberpunk thing going. So that'll be interesting. So I don't know if the vehicles, like, but I don't know how I don't know how close they can get to Shadowrun without doing Shadowrun without getting, you know,
Yeah.
without Catalyst talking to them and being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" Um, but yeah. So, but back to the secret layers. Like, what are your thoughts on the fairness there?
Well, being a longtime Yu-Gi-Oh player, I think it's fine, because Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't like ban cards that were released years and years ago. When in tournament play for Magic the Gathering, they typically do that. It's like, if your cards were released before this time, you can't use those. Magic the Gathering does that. Yu-Gi-Oh does not.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh just has a list of cards that you can't use in tournament play, and they occasionally do come back. Like, they're on the list for a while, then they're off the list, then they're on again, then they're off again, and that happens pretty often.
Yeah, sometimes they actually banned cards to keep up sales, which is something Magic hasn't done yet.
That's why they re-release them. And Magic
Yeah.
typically, from what I've seen, Magic will eventually like release this brand new set, but it actually has cards from previous sets in them, and
Right.
that's how they're able to bring
Yeah.
players who used to play at certain
Yeah.
periods of time, like me, for example. I played when it was Kamigawa, and if they're going to re-release Kamigawa, I might actually play it again, because a lot of those cards were really good, and it was fun to play with them.
Right, but like with Yu-Gi-Oh, like for instance, when they just out of the blue banned Monster Reborn and then put out Monster Return,
Monster
uh,
Reincarnation.
yeah, Monster Reincarnation. They pretty much did that just for the purpose of pushing sales. There was no reason to ban that card over the other card, but the card's out. It's
Yeah,
like
they didn't want to. They want competitive play to be a little more edgy. They want you to make sacrifices in order to make larger gains, and the more you sacrifice, the more your gain would be. I personally, my main deck right now in Yu-Gi-Oh is an Archfiend deck, and it's so far behind the times. There's no chance in hell that I have of playing competitively, because
mine
Yu-Gi-Oh
too.
now is so fast.
Oh yeah, I had an Archfiend deck, and I was at one of the last times I was playing. I'm not going to mention the tournament. I'm not going to mention where the tournament was, because every time I go down the road, I have to mention that particular convention, and I'm on the outs with them right now.
I got you. I know what you're talking about.
But I was playing, and this kid is all like, "Hey, mister, you want to borrow some of my seeds? I'm going to win without seeds." And I'm like, whatever. Dude. It's like, he was right, but it was like, this used to be my Fiend deck. It was fast. My Fiend deck used to be good before I put all the lightning in it, and then I put all the dark lightning stuff in it. It's a pretty fast deck, but it's just not seeds and whatever fast. Actually, I think I got some feed seeds for it. Man, we are talking jargon a little bit, but okay. So seed is actually XZ. It's any of the black cards, yeah.
The XYZs,
so yeah. You put them together, and they give you an effect, and they're faster. So that if you have a standard beatdown in Yu-Gi-Oh, which you're like a standard beatdown deck, which is what most people used to. It would put out, it would put out like cards that would break other cards and cards that were just big. That's basically what you wanted to do. And then now
I was Kaiba. I had 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons. Yeah.
you get the combinations out, and then the combinations are like, I don't know. I don't even know how seeds work anymore, honestly. Like I stopped at the silver combination ones.
The synchro monsters.
That's what I did originally. The synchro monsters. And synchro monsters were fast. And then fusions were fast.
That wasn't where I think the game started getting faster when the light sworns were introduced, because they would cost cards on top of your deck, and a lot of the cards in light sworn would actually help you bring those cards like from the graveyard back to the field almost immediately. And that was a big deal for a while. But when the Xyz monsters came out, it got harder. Now, how Xyz and synchro monsters are very similar. The synchros, you have to use a tuner and another monster with the total number of stars in order to bring out one of those synchro monsters that have that number of stars. The Xyz are kind of similar to that, except you need, like, if you have an 8-star Xyz, you need 8-star monster in order to bring it out. And you could just combine them in a type of fusion and bring out that card. And I think they're broken, and they have been ever since they were first introduced. Because you attack and destroy that monster, you just lose one of the Xyz components. The monster's still there. That's a problem. Well, pendulums were also the very similar to that too. When it was there,
that's the other one. So those 3 or 4 combinations are basically what the game is played at now as far as speed. You're either playing fusion, pendulum, synchro, or seeds. That's what everybody's playing now, and it's like, I can't. Stuff's expensive too.
It can be. Like, I put my Archfiend deck together from a store in Pasadena called Core TCG. I went there and I put my deck together, and it cost me $35, which is the same amount as like a 10 or a collection of packs or whatever. So, the cost is about the same. The reason why it was so cheap, even though they included other cards, is because I knew what I was doing, and the guy behind the counter was nice to me, so he gave me a small discount.
Yeah, I mean, and the reason I was able to build my deck was because I had a store, and so I had a lot of bargaining power that a lot of people don't have when they're making a deck, but I don't have a store anymore, so it's not as easy to do that. Like I had people coming in, I'd be like, "Oh, you have that card. I'm looking for that card," or a friend's looking for this other card. And I, I liked, I liked my deck. I had Raviel, which, I run Raviel. I run King of the End. My fiend deck is all the fiends. Probably too many of the fiends, but I have all the because I have the End of the World rituals, and I have Raviel, and I have Dark World. So I'm running silver and gold, and it was a good deck. But now now the other deck that I run is I run Magical Merchant with 4 magics and tons of graveyard and counting effects, and it works, but then I started losing some of the things that you need for it. Like I had card destruction. I think card and jar of greed are kind of neat, or jar of avarice are needed to make that deck work. So like when they banned those cards, it didn't work, which is funny because no one, like the deck I just explained, everybody would be like, well, that won't work in a tournament. It's like I don't play tournament, obviously, because that deck is not gonna win in tournament. But like I don't know, I used to judge Yu-Gi-Oh, and one thing that was funny is there were kids, and well, I don't know if they were kids or not, but they'd be people that they'd be arguing about how I've got a really, I'm a little bit more risky. I've got 3 Treeborn Frogs instead of 2 Treeborn Frogs in my deck, and we were looking at the same deck. I kid you not, there was like probably 60 or 70 copies of the same deck. We're sitting there looking at these and going, "Oh, wow, this would be a fun tournament to be part of." It's like
I'm just playing against myself.
Playing against myself all the time, and but that was interesting. I think it's interesting the ways in which both of them, both Magic and Yu-Gi-Oh, have decided to come up with something. I think it's interesting too. Like when I worked with Mystical Empire, which was a card game. It's now a dead game, but it was when I was helping with that, and we were looking at design. They had a card, and what it did is, so the way that Mystical Empire worked is that if you had a card, like you had a hero that was you basically, kind of like a commander, but or like in Warlord, kind of like your boss or whatever, and that every card instead of resources did things based on actions.
Okay.
So you started with one action, and you would do these different things, and that determined how many things you did. Well, they had this one card that the guy created that was a common, and you knew your commons from your rares because and your rares determined how many you could have within your deck. So it said 4 on it. Well, so what it did is it came on the field untapped. It did 1 damage. It had the ability to cast spells because spells were cast by people. They weren't separate things. So like you had to have a creature, and then the creature was casting the spell based on how much magic they had that they were putting out on their card. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So this card had that, and it had the ability to cast magic, and it had the ability of tap to untap.
So it could continuously be used.
Yes, and this is a common card. So people were like, it's really overpowered. it's extremely overpowered as a common. And people are like, well, we'll just get rid of the tap ability. If we get rid of the tap ability, then it'll be fine. And I'm like going, but you could just make it rare. And they were like, no, we won't make it rare because that's Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. And we don't want to be having a list like Yu-Gi-Oh. We want to be like Magic on this other thing. It's like, it's funny, like how some people will gravitate towards this and say this is good or this is not. Whereas like I'm more pragmatic about design. I'm just like I don't know, like whatever would work the best. And like if you have something that's that broken,
don't fix
like
it.
I didn't want to take that ability away from the player. I just felt like we'll just have less of them. That made more sense to me. Whereas they were like, well, we'll just nerf it.
Dev, nerf this.
And I mean,
I don't even know why that term nerf is even as big as it is, because nerf darts hurt sometimes.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I saw a little thing when I was coming in here, the little notifications, and one of the ones was from Bell of Lost Souls, and they were talking about nerfing something, and I was like, huh? It was like, it said such and such nerf doesn't work. And I'm like going, I don't know if they're talking about a Warhammer thing that they tried to make weak and it didn't work, or if there was a crossover between Nerf and Warhammer.
I'd pay for that.
It's not working. It's not working.
I'm down for that. This crossover.
Do you play Warhammer?
No, but I know a bit about it. One of my favorite factions was the Sisters of Battle.
Okay.
Or as we called them back in the day, was Balter bitches.
So one thing that I heard a friend of mine talk about on his show was he was talking about like that a lot of times people that play Warhammer are not extremely inclusive, like to his way of seeing it.
I know the competitive players are a little iffy, but I've also seen competitive players play.
He's a person of color too, so
okay.
Yeah.
I've seen competitive players like in a really serious heated match at a place in Amarillo called Big Apple Comics, and they were just so stressed and angry, and they were turning bright red and sweating. And I hate this game. I hate this game. And everyone else is like, just the bystanders are like, you won though. And he's like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And he kept winning in the tournament. He's like, no, someone beat me. I want to go home. I know some Yu-Gi-Oh players that are like that. It's like, well, nerf your deck.
I played in one Yu-Gi-Oh tournament that was like not at my store. And the only reason I did my store was just to kill time or whatever. It's it was just like, oh well, you're not going in a match or whatever. Right. But like I decided, I'll go to a tournament. We'll see how it goes. And I was like, I did not like it. The idea of playing 6 times in a row, if you know that you've got a bad deck,
right,
is horrible. It's not a fun time. Like I've talked to Jeff about this, about sometimes how some games, and Warhammer fits this bill, some games are more like German board games. It's not about fun, it's about winning.
Right.
So it's not fun. It's like it's more drudgery.
A year or two ago, I found a YouTube
Yu-Gi-Oh can be that way when you're just getting like punched over and over again.
Oh yeah,
and it's easy to do that with the deck, and it's like if you lost your first round, there's a good chance. Well, I know this for a fact. In Swiss, the way Swiss works is if you lost your first round, you're already bottom ranked in the whole tournament, and there's really not much you can do at that point. Like,
Right.
you might as well go home if you lose a first round if it's a Swiss rank. So
A couple years ago, I looked up a world championship match in Yu-Gi-Oh, and it was 2 duels. To best 2 out of 3, because that's how their matches were working. This guy, the guy goes first, and he puts a couple cards down, sets a monster. Then the next guy's turn, he goes and he sets up a board. Pretty much, he's got all these monsters out. He's already nullified his opponent's field. He attacks, duel's over. Then the loser goes second in the next one. He wins that match in the exact same fashion. Wipes out his opponent's board, attacks with all his monsters, and wins. Then the other guy, it's like, this is predetermined pretty much at this rate. These decks are moving one turn, it's over. And when I watched that, I was like, this is the state of the game now? I don't even want to play with these people anymore. And there were some of them, there was a couple people, his name's Austin St. Clair. He was like number 3 in the world for a long time. Played against him a few times, and back in the day, it was fun. Then I saw these tournaments coming out over the past few years, and I'm like, this is too fast. I like long, drawn-out duels. I like being able to use half of my deck before I beat my opponent. I want them to use some of the same strategies against me. Look at the long run, not like I'm going to punch you in the face and it's over. It's boring to me. It's too fast.
Well, that's why I really don't like playing. I didn't like playing tournament style Magic, but nobody doesn't play tournament style Magic anymore. Where turns are slow. When I first started playing Magic, build was a thing for like a long period of time. You could sit there and you could just build your decks and play and then like, okay, cool. Now I think we'll see what happens and fight or something.
Right.
But now it's like when you play, it's blow for blow, and it's a much different state of play because it's like I have to attack first, because if I don't attack and keep attacking, you're going to just start attacking because that's how everybody plays. And you can't be like, well, I'm trying to build my combo. They're like, that's your problem. Because that's just it's a state of play that happens. But I play Commander, which has a different play because one, your commander does more damage to it, because if you get your commander to attack, it can do more damage to the to a player to eliminate them. But at the same time, the other part of the style play is multiple player, like around a table. So then you've got a lot more damage that way as a thing. So that's different. I don't know. Like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, I prefer playing casual over like that hard tournament style anyway.
Right.
But it's just funny because some games kind of have that built in. Like even Yu-Gi-Oh, every time I've played, it's always felt like going up a hill and getting every time because it's such a tennis game, just the way that it plays. It's not it's rough, and to play that as a tournament for me is not what I would say is fun, because and my deck's not working. It's not working, and like in Yu-Gi-Oh, that's how that works. It's like I don't think I've ever in a tournament where the deck's not doing well, and then the next person it does well. That happens in Magic, but it doesn't really happen in Yu-Gi-Oh. So, like, I'll tell you right now, like when I was at the tournament, I think I was there for 3 rounds, and then like I looked, and it's like, when is this going to end? And it's like 9 o'clock, and I'm like, oh no, I left. I'm like, I'm going home because it was a tournament in Long Beach. I just went home. I'm like, I'm going home. Forget this. I'm not doing this. But yeah. You're getting some sound in the background, just to let you know.
Okay, yeah, it's my mother-in-law and my wife are in the kitchen.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good.
Just tell us to shut up. Oh no! Don't tell me.
I wasn't going to do that. So there's sound. Just letting you know there's sound coming through, so you're aware.
So it's all good. As long as it's not interrupting anything, we're good.
Yeah, it's not. It should be fun.
You guys are fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Let's see here. So yeah, so we've talked about some things, but I guess what I want to know is, what are you working? I know you want to tell people about what you're putting together, so take some time and let us know.
Well, at the moment, I'm recording a series for my YouTube channel, Dr.Steamfox, and I'm working on Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm recording a couple episodes at a time. I'm editing them for the time constraints and also to make it less boring, because most of Mass Effect Andromeda does focus on exploration, which means get in the car and drive halfway across the planet, which can take an hour. And in order to cut down on that, I edit a lot of the stuff out unless something funny happens, and then I just leave it in, or I'll tell a joke to kill the time, and I might leave some of that in. And I plan on releasing that. Hopefully, I'll be able to start releasing that next week. But I want to make sure I have a good stock of videos that will be releasing probably around either 1 or 2 p.m. Central Time every day until the series is finished. At least I hope so. I want to make sure I have a good back catalog ready to be released.
That sounds good. And I know that you just got back from doing some 17th door. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I'm a professional haunter at the nation's scariest haunted house, 17th Door in Orange County, California. I did just finish that. A lot of people have a huge misconception about what 17th Door is. They think it's a torture room or escape room or just a whole bunch of other nonsense that just isn't true. We're not necessarily an escape room. We do have a safe word, but it doesn't mean like some extreme haunted houses are. You have this safe word, and if you say that safe word, you get kicked out. That's not true at 17th Door. 17th Door, you can say our safe word mercy to either get the actor to stop, depending on what room you're in, leave the room if you can, or bypass a room. Or you could use it to leave the whole thing altogether. The choice is always yours. Everything at 17th Door is completely voluntary. And anything that you have to worry about, you get warned about well ahead of time, so you'll know what to look for. I'm an main actor there. I've been there every single day that they've been open, and they may be doing stuff in the off season starting in April.
So what does it seem like they're going to do in April?
From what I understand, the owner wants to open the new attraction that we started this season called the Field Trip, and he might actually just do the Field Trip in April for like a couple weekends. But he said that if it doesn't really perform all that well, that it's going to be canned to try and repeat it. They're not going to do it throughout the year. But if it does really well, then they're going to do the Field Trip every couple months.
Sounds good.
It's a fun experience.
Did you have anything interesting, funny stories happen
this year?
Working? Yeah.
Well, without spoiling anything, we have a new room. Now, a lot of people know about this room already, but the thing is, this room involves a serious amount of water, and people have been talking about it on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and pretty much every social media platform you can think of. And I did it myself, and it's not really as serious as a lot of people think it is. But if you're hydrophobic or claustrophobic, it can be a pretty big deal for you. And I worked that room quite a bit. I also worked one of our other extreme rooms called Gas Chamber. Gas Chamber's not coming back. I can talk all about that one. It's also known as the world famous 17th door ball pit. We would put people in a very tiny locker, close the door for which there is no escape. It would tip back, and then the back doors would open and drop you into the ball pit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tons of fun. I loved that room. It was one of my favorites. And on Halloween night, I did a room called Tumbler. And Tumbler is an 8x8 by 20 room that spins on an axis like this. And what we would do is we would bring the guests into the room, line them up on a wall, and tell them, when we tell you to get up, you get up. Then the room would start tilting, and then it would rotate 90 degrees. Then we would as dressed up as clowns, we would jump down to give them a startle, and then we would tell them to get up. And then they'd get up and line up on the wall again, and then it would tilt another 90 degrees. Then we would do an even bigger jump on top of a metal grate to make an even louder bang, and to make them realize they're not on the wall anymore, they're on the floor. If you're not paying attention to the room, that first time you line up on the wall when it tilts, you don't realize that you're on the ground. It's such a subtle thing. And then when you finally do realize it, you're like, oh God, I better get up.
Mm-hmm.
And that room was a lot of fun, but it is physically demanding.
Did you hurt yourself or anything on the metal?
No.
No.
There was a group of folks that weren't really paying attention, which that's pretty much every day. Regardless, these folks weren't exactly paying attention, and they kind of fell on top of each other. And I didn't have any safe space to land, so I kind of like said, "Yeah, I'm doomed." So I kind of slid down the wall, and I fell on top of them, and I sprained my right knee and my right ankle at the same time. It didn't hurt. I just noticed it's like, there's a little twinge there, and I got up and I walked it off like it was nothing, and I was fine the rest of the night. But that was like the closest thing to an injury that I sustained. However, there were some of our guests that just would not listen to us. When the room does a second rotation, the floor that you're on has some mirrors on it, and you can actually like kind of clip on the side of the mirror and then jump off of it, because there's just enough, there's like this much space, so you can like dig your heel into it real quick and then just jump off of that to land on the metal grate. Mm-hmm. So one of the guests were like trying to hold on to the wall when there's literally nothing to hold on to, and they were perched on that mirror, and they fell off the mirror and landed on the metal grate face first. They had no injuries. I don't know how that happened, but they didn't get a scratch, a cut, nothing. They just like, bam, landed right on the metal grate. They got up and they said, "I'm sorry, I'm a dumbass. I wasn't paying attention." Like, obviously you weren't paying attention. And well, he gets up and he's like the first person out of the room. he was just dumbfounded and baffled.
It's weird. I was invited to 17th floor, and I actually went up there because at the time I have a lot of people that work there that are personal, that like are my friends. So it's you know, I had a thing, and but they showed me the paperwork that said that I had to agree to be shocked, and I was not having it, and so I went back into the car because I just didn't want to get. I don't like to get electrocuted.
That's what the safe word's for.
Yeah. nobody that they just said, you know, we're gonna electrocute you, and I'm like, oh well, what if you don't want to get electrocuted, don't sign. I guess you're not going.
Well,
that's what I was told. So I was like, yeah,
there's a safe word for a reason. You know, we also have something called a mercy pendant. Usually they're pink, but sometimes they're red, sometimes they're orange. And if people get a mercy pendant, which it's bright enough, it'll protect you from electrical shocks and insects. That's it. It does not protect you from being touched. It does not protect you from the gas chamber. It doesn't protect you from getting shot when we had that room. You know, it did protect you from electrocution and bugs, which were, for the longest time, electricity and bugs was like the most extreme thing that people were worried about the most. But now they're worried more about getting wet. Like the first room that you get wet in is called the showers. and it's
Yeah.
pretty obvious you're going to get a little wet in there. It's not that bad. The last room you could potentially get severely drenched. I don't know how. When I did it myself, this got wet, my face. That's it. Nothing else. And the only reason my chest got wet is because my beard got in the water and I stood up and it just like dripped down a little bit. And I was pretty wet from that, but they were like, "You're pretty much bone dry. What the hell did you do?" And I said, "I did nothing." And then when I would work that room, I would see people come out of that pipe and they were just drenched. And I'm like, how the hell did they do that? How did they get so wet? Then when I would get closer to them, I would notice that they're flailing around inside of like barely 6 inches of water and they're splashing all over the place, going nuts. I'm like, okay, that explains a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been worried about that because I was in a friend's car and I wouldn't want to get my friend's car all wet, but that'd have been my big issue about getting drenched or something. But if not, even then, like, you just throw a change of clothes in the back of the car, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal to me. I don't know, because like
a towel or two, yeah.
I've done the acting and stuff. You know, I wasn't worried about that. I just didn't want to get electrocuted. That's really what my whole thing was. And they didn't want to tell me how much. Like, somebody just told me, "Oh, well, don't worry about it, Frank. It's just a jolt." I've been like, okay, but like, they didn't want to tell me that it wasn't, you know, because I'll tell you what it is. I got tased.
Okay.
I've gotten tased. I've gotten I touched an electric socket once. I've electrocuted a few times, but I got tased at a bus stop. I was waiting for my bus, and this guy gave me this evil look, and he suddenly tased me. He didn't do anything except for just attacked me. And it was weird. What was really creepy is nobody did anything. I got tased, and then I'm like kind of walking wobbly, and I've got to get to Hollywood where Angela was, and I'm like, I know I'm a big guy, so people are like, "Oh, well, it's okay, I guess if I get tased." I don't know, but it was like creepy. I didn't like it, and I didn't want that feeling again. So that's really what it was. I was just like, and maybe I should have asked that. Maybe I should have been like, "Hey, are you guys going to try and put 2,000 volts through me? Because if you are, down."
Nah, not 2,000 volts, not even close to that.
And people were rolling cattle prods.
They
Monsters had cattle prods.
Yeah, the prods that we use at 17th Door, they give you a little pinch. They're not that bad. The one room that we have shocks in can be pretty bad. It's called Circle Shock. It's not coming back, so I can talk all about it. It was this chair that had metal studs and metal studs on the seat and the back, and there would be like this roller coaster ride. Pretty much, this bar would come down and kind of hold you in place, and you could push a button when there would be a panel of buttons in front of you, and you could push one to make a selection, and whichever one you picked, that person got shocked. If you didn't pick, you would get shocked. If you got picked, you got shocked. But there's ways around it to where it's not that bad. And as long as you play the game, it's not going to be that bad because the shock that you get is a variable, and there's a safety switch on it that would send like a tiny bit stronger shock if you did not pick somebody, but only a tiny bit. When I sat down in the chair,
so if you're nice, you're going to get the shocked out of you.
Pretty much.
Oh yeah. Get him and him and him and him, and you're fine. That's right. That's lovely.
It went by for 3 rounds, but not like 3 minutes, but like it would go off and then 30 seconds later go off again, whatever.
Right. All right.
And for most people it's not that bad, but it also depends on what chair you are in, because each chair would, like, over time, it would either wear down or the voltage doesn't really have anywhere else to go, so it would go to this particular chair, and that chair would be the worst, and they would get it really, really bad. But not all the chairs were like that. Say, for example, it's gone now, but for example, if you sat in chair 6, that one wasn't that bad. Even if you didn't push a button, it would be like, It'd make you pop up a little bit, but it would be more of a muscle stimulator at that point. Chair number 4, on the other hand, well, chair number 1 didn't work. 1, 2, 3, and 4 were all on one circuit. 5, 6, 7, and 8 were on a different circuit. So chair number 1 didn't work at all, and all the voltage for it would go over to number 4. Don't know why or how. They don't know either, and they're the ones who built it. And if you didn't pick anybody and you were sitting in chair 4, you would get it way worse than anyone else ever.
Wow.
It hurt. It would hurt really, really bad.
That's probably why they cycled it out.
Probably. We've been using it for 3 seasons, and most of the rooms that, like, they're not built to last that long. Built to last, sure. Built to last 3 seasons? No, absolutely not. In fact, the only room we're bringing back next year, the best, yeah, the only room we're bringing back next year, to the best of my knowledge, is Tumblr. And even then, it's not going to be the exact same Tumblr as everyone knows it now. It'll be a tiny bit different. There might be different decorations in it. The actors in there might be different. Who knows? I just know that that room's still going to be there. And it's actually one of the faster rooms because the entire pace of the whole maze is dependent upon Tumblr working a certain way because of how involved it is. It's got a custom gear on it, a custom motor, a custom transmission solenoids. It has a custom cooling unit. Like, this whole thing is all handmade by one guy, and he's a genius. So he came up with this idea for the room to spin, and he made all this custom stuff for it. So it's an extremely involved room. Plus, once you're in it, you can't really get out. You got to wait until it's over. It's one of the rooms where you cannot say mercy once you're inside. And there were 3 of those this past season. There was Tumblr, gas chamber, and the last room called flood pipes. Once you're in there, that's it. It's over. You got to wait.
How long do you think, like, one tour is?
It can last anywhere from 35 to 45 minutes. And the only reason for the disparity is in between each scene is about 15 to 20 seconds worth of pretty much nothing. And there are lights above the doors. And when the light's red, you stop. And when the light turns green, you go into the room. And not a lot of people really pay attention to that. And they walk like a snail. So for some people, it can take them 45 minutes because they're slow in between scenes. And if you're taking too long to get into the room, it won't start. So that can hold up the entire maze, which happens all the time, every single day, multiple times a day. It would always happen. And people would hold up the line because they would be taking too long to either get into a room, get out of a room, or they're transitioning between rooms, or they would take too long to get into Tumblr or out of Tumblr. You know, so it would hold up the line a little bit. Otherwise, for most people, if you walk at a steady pace into and out of every room, if you pay attention to all the lights, it can take 30 minutes, maybe. And that's as long as you're paying attention. Because each room is 90 seconds. There's 17 rooms, plus there's about 15 seconds in between each one. Rinse, repeat.
So, being you talking about following rules, I have to bring up the whole thing that I know a lot of us, people that are scare actors or monsters are concerned about, and that's, don't touch the monsters.
Right.
And so just kind of wanted to get your thought on that, basically,
So at 17th door, the actors are allowed to touch the guests, but we don't do anything extreme to them. Like, if the only time we're going to touch you is to either put you into a safe position so you can have a good show, or to get you moving a little bit quicker out of or into the room. That's about it. We don't punch, we don't kick, we don't pull hair, we don't shove. That's not scary. That's stupid.
Yeah.
So we do safety touch. The most that we are going to touch somebody is to get them out of the way. Like, I have to get over there. The best way I'm going to do it is a shoulder nudge, and I'm going to move you out of my way. And a lot of times there are people that are, they puff up and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, if someone tries to touch me, I'm going to whip their ass. Don't even try it. Half of us know how to fight way better than you do. Some of us get paid to do that as a side job. So don't even try it. Plus we have, we have a good security team as long as we have certain people in certain areas. But we let someone in who assaulted 3 of our actors. And that was security dropping the ball.
Yeah.
If we had a different guy there at the time, he would have been able to take care of it a little bit better than the guy they actually did have at the time.
So that's interesting, because I actually so I used to work for DP.
Yeah, so
at one point in time. Yeah. So I used to work for Will for a while. I used to work at the pool, but also about the thing. Were you there when the thing where he got punched in his teeth?
I got hit. That was the night I got hit. Yeah, I was the first person hit. I had a bloody nose. Dave got his teeth knocked out, and Shar got knocked into a wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there that day.
Yeah, that was bad. I heard that like the guest was on something.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. His charges were multiple accounts of assault with a deadly weapon because he had a set of brass knucks on when he hit me and when he hit Dave. He
brass knucks. Oh wow.
Yeah, he was under the influence of a controlled substance. He violated his probation when he assaulted us. He also had a charge of attempted vehicular homicide because he almost hit a few people when he left in the parking lot, and he got off on a year of probation.
Wow.
Yeah, it's horse crap.
Yeah. But I know, like when I worked at Nightball House Hollywood, we had a situation where so our hosts were they were Georgie, and they were in like little raincoats, like little yellow raincoats, and they were probably like, and almost all of our Georgies were ladies, and so you'd have like they'd be taking someone on a tour. Well, someone decided to I can't remember how they assaulted them, but they I think they ran at one of our Georgies or something like that, and so she got bumped like in her front, and and so like then we had like security looking for these people, and it's like they don't know that like we talk to each other, because like if I'm sitting there in the room waiting to scare somebody, then I'm going to talk to my Georgie. I'm going to talk to the host when I see her. So if she gets attacked, I'm aware of it, so it's just like, don't do it. Do not assault monsters. They don't appreciate it. It's not what they're paid for.
Yeah, at 17th door, we've had people assault us. We've had people threaten us with weapons. We've had people threaten to firebomb us. We've had, you name it, we've had it. It's now I think it would like to be considered one of the most dangerous jobs in the country. Because we don't know who's coming through that door. We don't know who's coming to the queue. We don't know what they're going to be on, if they're on anything. The best advice I have to people in the general public that want to come to a place like 17th door, not just exclusively to 17th door, but a place like it, when they're going to Knott's, if they ever open Dark Harbor again, if they go to Six Flags or whatever, go sober.
Right.
Follow instructions.
And I have so many friends that work in this industry, and I know you do too. So it's just like,
I
mean, basically, I'm talking about, hey, could you do me a favor and not attack my friends? That would be awesome.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah,
I tell medical bills. Most of these people are just barely working, and then they don't need, they don't need you to hurt them, and then they have to go to the hospital.
Right.
And then they can't work.
Yeah.
If they hurt their leg or something. Yeah.
I'm pretty tough, so when I get hurt, I just come back to work and I work it off. But that's
me.
Yeah,
you're tough.
I can't say that for everybody.
But like, like for instance, like Elena, she's not going to necessarily walk it off, or
no,
or some of these other people, they're.
I've also seen what Elena's capable of. So if someone hurts her, she's probably going to end up hurting them even worse.
Oh yeah,
she's capable of it. That wouldn't be a problem
for sure. I know,
but I'd be like, oh no, she doesn't need protecting. They need protecting from her.
Oh yeah, she's mad now. You're in trouble.
Better duck. But yeah, I tell people all the time, you go if you go to a 17th door, you go sober, then go home and get fucked up and think about what just happened to you. Sorry for the
Yeah.
language, but that's the best way I could put it.
Yeah. No, I agree. So what have you been doing as far as sabers? Because we were talking about that a little bit in
Right.
terms like TSL and stuff. So both of us were involved in a thing called Orange County Saber Fighting, and we've also and what that is we fight with glow sticks or lightsabers.
Yep.
And you can get those at Ultra Saber. You can get those all over the place.
Ultra Saber,
I wouldn't
Saber Forge,
recommend
Vader Salt,
Disneyland.
and the custom Saber shop where I built this wonderful little thing.
Yeah, and most of those they're not from Disney. They're what you call stunt sabers. They're much different. If you take one of those out of the box Lucas sabers and try and fight somebody, you're gonna have a bad time. Don't do that.
It'll probably break.
You're gonna break your saber. And definitely don't get one of those sabers that they have exclusively at San Diego Comic-Con that's made out of a light tube. That'd be a real bad time. You'll go ding and it'll go and then you'll be like, wow, $500 wasn't a good idea. Because those aren't stunt sabers, they're for pretty.
Right.
So.
And they can vary in cost. Like for example, this one, all of these parts that I put together, even the button, this right now was barely $200, and they can vary in price from like you can get a grab bag from Ultra Sabers for like $50, and you can get really well done custom ones like from Darth Alice Sabers for several $1,000s.
Right.
And you wouldn't want to fight with that, but he does make them to where you can fight with them if you want to.
I've been looking at the Saber for from what is it? Genesis, I think.
Genesis Customs?
Yeah, just Genesis Customs. That is an amazing saber that they have that you can get with the runes on it or different designs. It's
the Bad Axe.
Celtic scrolling and so many amazing pieces on that.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you can always get blades from our friend Ripper, but
Gary,
you can't fight with them, but they're pretty.
He does make some you can fight with.
You could fight with his color cosmic style stuff, but you couldn't really fight with like the dark sabers and some of the stuff that he.
Yeah, his acrylic blades. No, do not fight with those. Don't even swing them. You put them on your saber, you turn it on, and this looks really cool. Don't swing it. You swing it, you break it.
And also don't swing it at somebody because you're gonna hurt somebody bad. Easily. Like I wouldn't want to get stabbed with one of those. Actually, it's funny. I was on one of his and ended up getting a mini dark blade.
Nice.
Just kind of cute. It sits in my stunt saber hilt pretty well, and it's pretty cool. I think it'd be good for cosplaying, and it glows nice and blue, has some little lightning effects on it. It looks pretty cool.
Cool.
His stuff looks really good. Like his I like his Master of the Universe stuff that he's been working on.
Oh yeah, those are amazing. Gary Ripper's a genius when it comes to that acrylic.
Yeah, he's really good. It's very impressive. And then now he's doing, I guess now what they're doing instead of the like the Ultra Sabers style, and I don't know if you can fight with these or these are more for cosplay, but the ones what are they? They're Neopixels, which I guess are the ones that have the lights in the blade itself.
Yeah, it's a string blade.
I don't know. Can you fight with those?
Yes, you can. The ones that I have seen, I can't speak for every company, but the ones that I have seen that work best, this is my opinion, are the ones from Vader's Vault. The Neopixel Sabers, heavy grade from Vader's Vault, they're $150 a pop. They're a little expensive, but you can fight with those. I've seen people fight with them just fine, no problems. The issue I've seen happen often with those,
Is that the blade only with the?
yeah, the blade itself is $150.
Okay, so then the hilt, you'd have to get a hilt.
Yeah.
Well. Okay.
Yeah, you have to get a Neopixel hilt.
Mhm.
The thing with these blades that I've only seen it happen twice, but it's been pretty consistent, is the tip is a semi-bullet tip, so there's a little tiny bit more surface area on it. So if you hit certain angles with the tip could come off. The downside to that is the tip flies off. That's it though. You know, there's some insulation that's inside the blade to protect the LED string, and it's strong as hell. At least the Vader's Vault ones are. I don't. There's a few other companies that make pretty decent ones that people have said, "Hey, I fought with this and it's fine." Like, okay, I'm pretty sure I believe you. But the only ones I have seen that work well are the Vader's Vault ones. They're a little expensive, but I've only ever seen the tip fly off. And a lot of people usually, when the tip comes off of the Saber, either the insulation or the cello wrap, if it has cello wrap on the inside of it, that will typically fly out too. I've not seen that happen yet. Only seen a tip come off. That's it. And all they did was put a tiny bit of super glue on it, pop it back in, tape it, call it good, and it doesn't come off again. You just have to.
And if you've ever fought like with lightsabers, and you know that the tip is a thing, man. Chasing down tips is that's the secondary thing you're doing when you're fighting Saber is you're chasing down somebody's tip.
Yep, that's the first thing you hear too. You hear a click clack, and then you hear tip. Went over there.
Yeah, it's over there. Because we used to play at Tyler Reed, and there was there was the tennis courts or whatever, and you'd go look through the tennis courts, and some people somehow got them on the roof. I don't know how they did that.
It's momentum plus velocity plus direction. You know, that's all it takes. Good luck finding it if it landed in the grass.
Because it's basically like a ping pong ball attached to your Saber, and then when it gets launched, it just goes.
It goes wherever
it just goes wherever. Because I remember that. So as far as like the way that this is played, there's really two styles now. Because like Orange County was its own thing, but it's not something that anyone's doing anymore. It's more like just playing games and stuff.
Yeah.
With light armor. But with TSL, of course, there's like a lot of it's armored and it's more of a high contact. And for some reason, I don't know why, whenever I think of you guys doing TSL, and I've been to so many tournaments, TSL tournaments and stuff. I've never been to Combat Con yet. I'm sure I will be at some point. I'll probably go down to Combat Con at some time. I can't imagine that I wouldn't.
It's
go to a TSL, and go watch it at least, if not competing. But I saw I don't know why I always think of it like like war, like SCA. I think of like multiple field battles with lightsabers, even though nobody plays that way. But for some reason, I consider it.
In TSL, we have had 2 wars.
Oh, you have had wars. Okay.
Yeah, we've had 2. It was a bunch of people that were fighting on the dark side, a bunch of people fighting on the light side. You know, we would still, have honor calls. We would still wear all of our gear, but it would be just like Orange County Sabers, where it would be a touch is a kill.
Sure. Okay. So same game. Touch kill. Yeah.
Yeah, and eventually we'll do it again because it's just too much fun. We can't not.
Oh yeah,
it's too much fun.
Oh yeah. Definitely sounds like a good time. But as far as so normally what it is though is it's 2 people going against each other. They're going full bore, and you have to have gorget, you have to have padding. The cup is recommended.
Cup is required.
Oh, cup is required. Okay.
Yeah,
even better.
It's not a valid target area, but accidents do happen.
Absolutely, and of course a helmet.
Yes, fencing mask, gorget, shoulder protector, elbow protector, forearm protector, hands. Your thighs, you don't have to have something for your thighs, but it's a good idea to have something. Your knees and shins have to be guarded well. You don't have to cover your abdomen like here, but you do have to cover your chest. Most strikes to the abdomen aren't really potentially dangerous, but attacks to the chest can be. So you do have to have a hard plate for your chest, a hard plate for your shoulders, hard plate for your elbows, a medium to hard. That's just what it says in the rule book. A medium to hard protector for your forearms. Lacrosse, hockey, or fencing gloves will work for your hands. They have to reach a certain value. Certain protectiveness values, what it says in the thing.
Sure.
The gorget that you need to wear for tournaments has to be metal.
Right.
But only for tournaments, because you don't know who you're going to fight. Accidents do happen, and if you're in a more high pressure, high intense setting like a tournament, you would want to have that extra protection. However, in championship series matches, your gorget does not have to be metal. You still have to wear one, but it doesn't have to be metal.
So
and
now
the fencing mask has to be a 3-weapon fencing mask.
Yeah. So like when people might be like, well, that sounds like a lot, but if you've ever been hit with a saber, and I've been hit with a saber,
oh yeah,
even when you're like where we, Orange County, when we used to fight light, you still, things happen, and it hurts. So when people are going full bore, there's no speed, requirements or anything like that, then you're gonna definitely kind of protection.
Well, there is a yes and no to that.
Okay.
Everyone fights at about 75% of their speed and power. Now, the reason for that is they don't want to break blades, and even with protection, you can still break bones, and we don't want that to happen.
Okay. And also, they allow stabbing still, right?
To the chest. Well, you can thrust to the chest, the arms, the face mask, and the shins. You cannot thrust to the abdomen, stomach. You cannot thrust to the thighs.
Okay. So that does change some things. So that's cool.
The hilt and the fingers are also not targets. You can hit the back of the hand, but from the back of the hand up, you can hit anywhere there. Light speed, on the other hand, is a little different.
That's what I was going to talk about next is light speed. Yeah, a little different in that they're a fencing style, and if you hit hands or the saber itself, then you've taken a point of damage. And so that's why people fight differently.
Yeah.
On light speed. Because you can take hand damage.
Yeah.
And then the blade is smaller. It's like it's a very specialized blade. Usually they have them at light speed. That's where you get that blade. It's like,
the 3/4 inch blade.
The Kang special.
Yeah. Custom Saber Shop sells them.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, they do.
Well, he's gotten it big enough that they gotta provide it. I don't know. Like, how many? Do you know how many light speeds are there now?
They're not quite as widespread as TSL is, but they like their hub is California, where Kang is, but they also have a group of representatives here in Texas. They have some on the East Coast. They have some in Mexico. I think they have some in Canada, but I'm not sure. I also think that there are some in Europe, but I'm not 100% sure. But they're not quite as widespread as TSL is, but they're getting there. Yeah. Another thing that's a little bit different is there's not really a pay requirement in TSL. In light speed, you have to pay in order to get into the tournaments. You do have to pay in order to get into Combat Con for the TSL tournament, but that's because it's at a actual convention for it.
Right. It's a convention, and I don't know if you guys are having any other convention tournaments, and if you are, I'm not promoting them here. If you're having it, any regular places, that's fine. I know that there's also the new organization. I don't know how their fight style is, and I know you're not in California, so don't know much about it. The
SoCal Sabers.
Yeah, SoCal Sabers.
They're heavily inspired by TSL. They just don't have. They have some of the same rules, but they don't have the same armor requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Because in TSL you have to use a heavy grade blade, and in SoCal Sabers you also have to have a heavy grade blade, but they don't have the same armor requirements, which to me is a red flag because there could be possibly very severe injuries coming from that. I haven't seen any, but I know it could potentially happen. They don't fight as fast as we do, though, so they might have that as an edge for them.
All right. Well, Louis, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It's actually been 2 hours, so I figured probably should wrap up pretty soon here. But did you have anything else you wanted to say before you took off? And we'd like to have you again maybe sometime, or I don't know, maybe come on a stream or something.
As long as I'm free, I'm more than willing to come by.
All right, sounds good. All right, so did you have anything you wanted to share before you take off here?
Oh, no. Be sure to subscribe to Gaming Fixx when you can, and also subscribe to Dr. Steamfox on YouTube. Might as well. It's free. Why not? Support your local creators.
Sure. Yeah, we're on Twitch TV / Gaming Fixx Live, which you probably are aware of if you're watching. Or on YouTube, you can hit that subscribe and like button, or make a comment. Always willing to hear what you have to say, and you can always comment on the chat.
Oh yes,
but
like, comment, subscribe, follow us for more.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks for coming on, and I will talk to you later.
I'll see you later. Thank you so much.
All right, sounds good.